Hospitals exist to save lives, but some seem to hold something more. A heart monitor beeping in an empty room, whispers coming out of nowhere, and patients registered in the documents who were never admitted. These are not stories made up to scare you. They are real accounts of places where silence hides something dark. Welcome to the darkest side of hospitals. Put on your headphones and come with us to uncover the dark side of public hospitals in Brazil. Creepy Brazil. The world needs to know.
I never believed in supernatural things. Ghosts, spirits, visions, all of that always seemed illogical to me. Even before entering the medical field, I was always very rational. I've been working as a nursing technician in a public hospital for years, and if there's one thing I've learned in this time, it's that we should fear the living more than the dead. At least, I believed that until that night. It's important for me to emphasize that I'm still a skeptic and that everything I'm about to recount, no matter how strange it sounds, must have a rational explanation. I just haven't found it yet. That Sunday night seemed like so many others. My shift had started at 7 p.m., and the pace was relatively calm. No major emergencies, just the usual. Patients waiting to be discharged, others waiting for tests, some sleeping under the effect of sedatives. Around 2 in the morning, I sat at the nursing station to check the records. The corridors had grown silent, except for the occasional beep of the heart monitors. That's when I noticed something strange on the system. Bed 209 was marked as occupied, but I was sure the patient had been discharged earlier. I went to check. The room was dark, lit only by the dim light from the corridor. The bed was made empty as I expected. I looked at the monitor mounted on the wall and saw that the vital signs were active. Heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen saturation. Everything being recorded in real time. But there was no one there. A chill ran down my spine, but I thought, it must be nothing. I touched the screen of the monitor, trying to understand what was happening. That's when something made me stop. The heart rate was increasing. The numbers slowly climbed. 72 BPM, 81, 96, 103. I looked around the room. Nothing. The monitor's beeping grew louder. The tachycardia alert sounded. 115 BPM, 129, 142. I felt a tightness in my chest. It was as if the room was getting smaller. The air felt heavy, dense. That's when I heard it. A breath. Low, dragging, coming from the empty bed. My body froze. The bed sunk slightly as if something invisible had lain there. And then the breath stopped. The monitor emitted a sharp alarm. Cardiac arrest. The screen showed a flat line. Something inside me told me to run, but my legs felt weak and wouldn't obey. The silence filled the room as I trembled and sweat cold beads of fear. Then slowly the mattress returned to normal. The monitor turned off. Bed 209 was empty again. I left the room without looking back. The next day, I tried to speak to the hospital's tech team about the monitor error, but no one found anything. No record of activity in bed 209 that night. But every night, precisely at 2:10 a.m., the monitor in that room turns on by itself. And the vital signs show up even after changing the monitor. This happens every night and no one else is admitted to that bed. I'm 38 years old and I've been a nurse for over a decade. I work at Santa Emilia Hospital, an old building in downtown Sorocaba that's seen a lot over the years. I've been with patients in their final moments, watched life begin during complicated births, and had to face families devastated by irreversible news. I'm someone who's used to tense situations. It was a Friday night around 10:30 p.m. My shift had started at 7 and I was already used to the fast pace. The ER was packed. I was moving between patients, helping where I could, just waiting for the night to go by. That night I was really tired. My 6-year-old son Gabriel had woken me up several times during the day, wanting to play and hang out with a dad who felt more like a zombie in bed. My wife, Mariana, was also exhausted, and we barely exchanged a few words before I left for the hospital. I thought about calling her but gave up. I was sure she was already asleep. Around 11:15 p.m., I got a request from the medical team to transfer a patient to one of the rooms on the 3rd floor. I grabbed the chart and saw it was a 46-year-old man. He had been found disoriented on the street and brought in by ambulance earlier that day. He had no ID and the test didn't show anything serious, just mild dehydration. The patient didn't say much, only that he needed to leave. The doctor on call decided to admit him for observation until a family member showed up. When I entered the room to help him into the wheelchair, he stared at me in a way that made me uneasy. I thought he was going to attack me. His eyes were sunken, and his skin looked paler under the hospital's cold lighting. But what really got to me was the silence. He didn't ask anything, didn't complain, didn't show any emotion. He just slowly stood up and sat in the chair like he already knew what I was there to do. On the way to the 3rd floor, the hospital felt different. The sound of the wheelchair wheels echoed more than usual, and the hallways were strangely empty. It was a Friday and the hospital was never that quiet. I tried to make conversation. "Everything okay, sir?" He slowly turned his head toward me and muttered, "He found me." I stopped for a second. "What do you mean?" He didn't answer, just kept staring ahead, frozen. We got to room 312. A small space with a bed, a chair for visitors, and a window facing the side of the hospital. As I helped him lie down, he grabbed my wrist. His hand was ice cold. "He's coming tonight," he whispered. I swallowed hard, feeling a chill crawl up my spine. "Oh, who's coming tonight?" He closed his eyes and didn't say another word. I left the room and went back to my shift, but that phrase kept echoing in my head. A little after midnight, I was at the nurse's station checking monitors and charts. The hallways were a bit more active, but most patients were asleep. I decided to stop by 312 to check in. When I opened the door, he was sitting on the bed, staring at the wall. The hallway light partially lit up his face, and what I saw made me uneasy. Silent tears were streaming down his cheeks, but he didn't make a sound. "Are you okay?" I asked, trying not to show how nervous I felt. He blinked slowly and turned his head toward me. "He's already here." That sentence made my blood run cold. "Who, sir? Who's here?" He just pointed at the window. I swallowed hard and looked. The glass reflected part of the room, and for a split second, I thought I saw something dark moving behind me. I turned quickly, but the room was empty. "Do you want me to call the doctor?" He didn't respond, just kept staring at the window. I left there with a knot in my stomach. I decided to tell the doctor about the patient's behavior, but she was busy in the ER. I went back to the station and tried to focus on something else. But a little after 2 a.m. the intercom rang. "Nursing," I answered. The voice on the other end was low and dragging. "Please, help me." It was him. I ran down the deserted hallway and reached room 312. When I opened the door, a cold wind hit me. The window was wide open. The man wasn't in bed. I walked in slowly, heart pounding in my chest. That's when I heard it. A whisper, coming from under the bed. I crouched down slowly, and what I saw made me instantly back away. He was curled up down there, trembling, eyes wide open. His lips were moving fast, like he was whispering something to himself. "He's here?" A chill ran through me. I felt a presence behind me. I turned around by instinct, but only saw the empty room. I helped him back into bed and shut the window. He grabbed my arm tightly. "He saw you too." I couldn't sleep after my shift. When I came back to the hospital the next night, I went straight to check room 312. It was empty. I checked the records. There was no name, no Paulo Roberto Vasconcelos registered anywhere. When I spoke to the other nurses, they told me 2 men claiming to be his sons came to pick him up. According to them, their father had mental health issues. He had run away and they were taking him home for treatment. One of my colleagues said the men were tall, one black and one white, but they looked like twins despite their different skin tones. When we asked for their IDs, they refused to show anything. And by procedure, we couldn't release a patient without a doctor's approval, proper identification, and proof of family connection. When they heard that, the men looked at each other and one of them stepped away to make a phone call. Seconds later, the hospital director called the front desk and authorized the release. Another nurse brought the man from the room as the two men waited. The patient stared blankly at the receptionist, showing no reaction, except for the tears falling down his face. The next night, room 312 was already occupied by another patient. My shift started at 11 in the morning and ended at 11 at night. 12 endless hours at the hospital, where time seemed to stretch in a different way. During the day, the hustle didn't leave me time to think about anything but work. But at night, the hospital changed. The empty hallways, the subtle sounds of machines, and the stale smell of alcohol and medication created a strange, almost oppressive atmosphere. That night, something felt different. I didn't know exactly what, but I felt a heaviness in the air, like there was something there that shouldn't be. A little after 9 p.m., I was called to take some medication to a patient on the 5th floor. The 5th floor always made me uneasy. It was the oldest part of the hospital, barely used, and the rooms were almost always empty. They were only used when the other floors were full, which isn't that rare in public hospitals like the one I work in. When the elevator opened, a strange feeling came over me. The floor was dark, except for a few dim ceiling lights that flickered from time to time. The silence was absolute. I walked to the nurse's station where I was supposed to pick up the patient's chart. But the room was empty. No nurses, no doctors. The computer was on, the screen casting a faint blue glow. I looked at the records and saw the name of a patient in room 503. Strange. I was sure the 5th floor was completely unoccupied that day. I grabbed the medication and headed down the hallway. It was so quiet I could even hear sounds from the street, in a way that made me feel even more alone. When I reached room 503, I hesitated. Something inside me told me not to open the door, to just turn around and forget about it. But I had to finish my job. I slowly turned the doorknob. The room was dark, lit only by the faint light of a bedside lamp. The shadows on the ceiling seemed darker than usual. It was like the lamp didn't light anything at all, not even the medicine bottle, giving the whole place a deeply eerie feel. The bed was occupied. I walked in slowly. The patient was lying down, covered up to the chest with a white sheet. His face was turned toward the wall. "Sir?" My voice came out quiet. No response. I gently touched his shoulder. His skin was cold. A chill ran through my body. "Sir? Are you okay?" Slowly, the patient turned his face toward me. My muscles tensed up. His face had no mouth, no nose, no eyes. It was just a mass of skin covering the entire area of his head. My body reacted before my brain did. I dropped the medication and ran out of the room. The hallway felt longer than before. My footsteps echoed, but now there were other footsteps too. They weren't just mine. I reached the elevator and started pressing the button like crazy. The digital panel blinked, out of service. I looked behind me. The hallway was dark, but I knew something was there. Something that was still watching me. I ran down the stairs, each step feeling like it took forever. When I got to the ground floor, I ran to the nurse's station and told a supervisor everything. She looked at me with a blank expression. "The 5th floor's been closed for 3 days. There's no patient up there. It's under maintenance because of water leaks." I couldn't believe what she said. Not satisfied, I checked the system myself to look up the chart for room 503. There was no record. That same night, one of the nurses found a bottle of medication on the elevator floor. The same elevator I used to come down from the 5th floor.
Thank you very much for being with me as you listen to these frightening stories that no one is exempt from. If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Although this channel talks about cases that occurred in Brazil, if you also want to hear your story here, send your story to the email that is in the channel description.